Hey guys, it's Carnifex with the Nerd. This video today we are going to do the tier list revisited video I mentioned earlier. I've created a new document and this one will be shareable and it's going to be DC tier list 2.0. So we had a few changes, we even had an addition and there were some other movements along, and I have also developed a top 5 tags page within this sheet. So we'll get into that at the end. We're just going to go knock it down. So there are a few people who had some improved changes, right? You have Batty, who we're going to go over in a little bit. She boosted up into gold tier and knocked to tier 1 and knocked Hard Orc down. And that was because she's now a gladiator, and that makes her so much more valuable for events. I was actually able to 4-man gladiators, and I'll get into more of that in a second. Corcoran and Cruel both got some minor boosts relating to their viability in the tower, and you'll see them highlighted a little bit in the tower video. It's not something you need, but it certainly can make it easier, and it's to an extent to where like the quality of life upgrade gives them some more value. And then the other three are Xantara, Venomate, and Mega Wheel, getting a little, just, and I say a little bit of boost in arena viability with basically what we've seen whenever Slinger will be fixed. Because once he's fixed, when you have all the abilities and everything maxed out, it is a viable team to take out Soleus. So the only person who had a bad change was Hard Orc, the only one of any real kind of consequence. And he didn't even go down. He just kind of like the breakdown numerically became such that I was like, okay, I think the dividing line is now here, not with him, because of some of the other. So there are a ton of minor adjustments, a point here, half a point here, that kind of thing. But those are the ones of major significance, and now I've sorted if they're a tiebreaker based on their name, so it's alphabetical. So let's kind of go into it here. So as you can see, little Batty, right, getting that boost in events, and a little bit in campaign tower as well. I gave some of the tanks a little bit of a boost there because having a backup tank, and again, I'll get into this whenever I do my tower video, having a couple backup tanks is really helpful to, again, just quality of life, the amount of restarts you have to make, etc. You can see, again, like some minor adjustments here. Slinger, this is where I threw in Slinger, the 18.5, so he's kind of like just under Cruel, a little bit above General Murdoch. It's primarily because of the arena value. Obviously, he helps to have in like campaign for like tower and stuff, but I've been able to clear the demons floor 9 pretty handily without him, so it's definitely not necessary. Little bit of raid viability against like Mega Wheel. You get turn meter boosts of your own, essentially, like kind of like his passive. But not a ton going on there to freak out about. It has a little bit of plug and play viability if there's no good leaders that are kind of available for the compositions they give us, because his leadership will work for everyone, just better for demons. As you see, Corcoran boosted up a little bit because of the tournament, or the campaign tower viability, and that's really it. So let's get into the real meat of this one, which is going to be about these top 5 tags. As you can see, he's got some nice color coding, and I'll get into what all that means. So first, whenever you look over here, this is indicating the tier of the person in the line. Whenever it's over the subject, that means basically how much should you care about it. How important is this tag because of the events involved? And there's a couple things going into that, so I'll just kind of break it down. So demons, they get a gold because you do need to invest in them a little more. So you might say, Orcs, like, but Orcs give you Soleus. It's like, yeah, but overall Orcs not used for a ton. And with Soleus, you can kind of get away with just elevating some of the more important characters without having to invest as much. Whereas with demons, you do have to get, we were shown in my video, pretty much like 2 to 3 characters to gear 10 without making it just the most vomitous event ever for you. But because they're also used for the General Murdoch lock and cooldown runes, crit damage runes, but they're also used. Where are you at? Oh, for cooldown. So I've kind of stacked it in there instead of having to do like a redundant list. And again, I put the leadership always at top, so that's why that may be out of order. Otherwise, it's in order of the tier and then alphabetical for the most part. So, no surprise that going with a leader of some sort, it does bounce out Puncher Face, which we kind of knew he was going to be the casualty for the most part because Slinger has the ability to dispel. There's a lot of AoEs on this team anyway. Shadar's leadership is good as well. Like, it's just, you do at some point need a leader for arena viability and some of this other stuff. So Shadar generally gets kind of like the edge for PvE content, and Slinger more gets it for like PvE. So like the tournaments and arena is kind of like the loose breakdown of that. So elves currently used for the Ember unlock and armor runes, and that's part of the reason why they're a silver, is because armor runes are just not as good. So Nightiel, right, is the gold tier out of this one. Wonderlula and Illyria. Looks like I made a boo-boo here. Let me fix that. Fix it on the fly. Boom. Okay. I think we will see an adjustment here. And actually, I think that whenever we get Fallon, the person that she replaces might actually be Wonderlula. Because while Kelrian isn't fantastic, like, you do need a tank. While Sharp isn't crazy good, that crit chance buff in combination with Fallon's lead. So we may see Wonderlula fall out of viability here whenever Fallon comes around. But only time will tell with that. That's just kind of a little, I guess, like sneak peek guess ahead there. Next we have Goblins, which are just not required for much that's good right now. Armor runes are not the most valuable thing, and that's it. Unless they have another, like profession-related tag. But so this is also, I forgot to say at the top, this is also for kind of like your side rooms in the tower for floor 9, kind of who you would want to use. So General Murdoch, right, and he's supposed to be. See, everybody misses stuff. Boom. General Murdoch, Mara Pigwald, Adam, and Major Shot. I know that I have Old Lore ranked higher, but that's specifically because Old Lore has a niche use in Arachar for the multi-hit, and that's not really going to be valuable in either like the armor runes or the side rooms. So whenever you take that away, I kind of think Major Shot is the better fill here, because you have decent damage coming out. It's more about his debuffs. And then humans, obviously, Solius Freeze are a little baddie. And then Cruel and Eric for the Orc, which considering the Solius unlock. You have Tromgar, Hard Orc, Mortha, Corcoran, Mar. Rantha getting the boot on this one. Pandas, which have some good use to. They get you on the crit chance runes. I think that, with the reveal of Lake, who is a red panda, that to me sounds like kind of like we got Slinger, right before the General Murdoch event came around. I feel like that means that pandas are going to be required for the next one. And as I said in, an earlier go check an earlier video, as to who I think that's going to be. But anyway, just look at who's getting changes. If you look at who's getting changes, it's a good way to kind of try and read the tea leaves as best as possible to see what's going down. So I think we will actually, and kind of in this case too, even though Wonderlula is ranked higher than these two characters overall, I think that whenever there's an unlock event featuring the pandas, I think Lake may very well replace Master Duo here and not Foul, because Foul has not only the AoE, but also the dodge buff that goes to everybody. And so I think we actually maybe see Master Duo be subbed out here for Lake for just a really high sustain squad. It's possible that may not be the case. Again, it's hard to know before any kind of like map were to come out, because maybe having that turn meter reduction on the boss is at the very end is actually really significant. It's kind of hard to get into like that second wave, but if you do, man, you're actually going to help yourself out so much. So it's speculation, but it will be Duo or Foul who bites the dust here for Lake. Assuming that he is remotely good, which I feel like we're all kind of assuming. Pride, again, Pride not being used for too much, pretty much just crit chance runes. Um, and then, so Hera, right, with the leadership there, Salvador and Revel. And I put in here Bori and Kagi. I think you can sub out Kagi for Yogi if you want to. But just because Kagi is a bit more accessible and because he really isn't bad in combination with Bori, you just really need a fully developed squad. He's a bit of a glass cannon. But he can creak out, some of the best single target damage. It's just with a lot less survivability than some other characters and with a little more synergy codependence than other characters require. So going into the health rooms, where now we have access to both orcs and humans to pull from this. So again, the thing we're going to get into here that you're going to see is I prioritize, I need to level 80 this character that I'm choosing here, because in order to do that final, it's a requirement, it's not a recommendation. You have to be level 80, that character has to be level 80 in order to be usable in the tier 7 of the rune challenges. So that's going, if there's someone I'm like, man, you know what, they might actually be kind of useful for this, but I don't ever see myself putting them at level 80. And you can see there's 2 characters outside of bronze, lower than bronze in the entire list here. And that's because I'm trying to make it really value-oriented for you guys and not make you have to waste too much on characters for niche responsibilities. So, anywho, going in. So we have Soleus Friezard and Little Baddie, right? I mean, it's essentially you can do the human team here, or you can do Hard Orc. It's up to you. Most people will probably just end up using the human team, which is one of the reasons why they're gold here, because they are replaceable there, and eventually they will be required for something, and this will be an extremely difficult. I mean, if you have this team built already, unless they give us like a gear 12 boost or something around that time, you're going to be ready to go already with these really valuable characters. Armor runes, goblins, and elves. You get a little bit of a hodgepodge here. The reason I swap out Adam for Kelrian here is because, again, I have to bring him to level 80 if I'm going to do this. Now, because it's red, I'm not necessarily recommending that you prioritize bringing these characters to level 80 for this event over some of the other alternatives. I'm saying when you get to that point, this is the team I would recommend. And the main reason is because Adam is helpful for the Bounty Hunter one, and he's the only Bounty Hunter tank that we have right now. So if I have to boost either Kelrian or Adam, I already have to boost Adam anyway if I'm going to use him in the Speed Runes one. So that's why he gets the nod here. Even though the taunt is a little unreliable, you also have Wonder Lula here. You can force the invis. Doesn't get you the crit, the counter attack like Kyra does, but it will still be a pseudo force taunt. Crit chance runes, Panda and Pride. So you've got Patriarch Cheese, definitely the leader out of this crew, because overall just Ember, the Panda faction is just built a little stronger, and you're going to have more reasons to invest in it because overall, right, looking here, their value is better. So Chi, fantastic in the Wraith, fantastic in Tower, blah, 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 blah. Ember, Kinley, Master Duo, and then I put Revel in here. He's a solid plug in there. Good for kind of working with a single target damage between his bleed and then his A3. And Ember, obviously, single target damage too. So Tenacity runes, this is bronze, and the main reason because these characters is there's very low multi-use rate with these characters, like Sergeant Pigwall. That's we don't recommend him anywhere else here besides for the goblin stuff. Snorri, we don't recommend him literally anywhere else in this entire thing. Yogi, we don't recommend him anywhere else in this entire thing. So this is probably the one to least priority. If I were to rank it, right, I would put the Dragon Slayer one just under armor. But Tenacity runes are certainly more valuable than armor, but not so much that you necessarily need to feel like you need to rush tier 7. Whereas instead you could kind of be like, hey, I need to rush gladiators, I need to rush bounty hunters. I can live with getting kind of far into the tiers in order to be able to do the northeast runes in order to get speed primaries, right? I can afford to do that for a couple rounds before I try and build it out more in order to prioritize getting the damage runes and the speed runes. So going on, damage runes, gladiators. So the reason I put an asterisk on Mortha is I didn't need Mortha. Now, granted, I had Revel at gear 10, and I had the other 3 at gear 11, but I 3-starred it. 3-starred it first try. I'm sure I got a little lucky there. There was like a 1 dodge that I kind of like needed. I'm like, oh, thank you. And without that, I very well could have, I could have lost a character and therefore not been able to sim it. But Rebel's the only leader here, so he gets the lead. Ember, Little Baddie, Airshell Breaker, and again, I didn't need Mortha. Having all those characters as built up as they were. A lot of, I mean, his leadership wasn't very high, but a lot of their abilities are pretty much maxed, or at least to maximum value, like real value. But I was able to do it without getting Mortha, so my Mortha is not level 80, which is nice. And like you may be able to do this too with this one, like not having Cruel and Hard Orc here. And you could certainly, and I'll even go ahead and add that you can use Tromgar here. That's silly. I don't know why I would have left that out. Because you're going to get both of them to level 80 eventually. Use whichever one you want, MBD. Potency runes. So again, kind of similar situation to Tenacity. However, you do end up building more of them. You're more likely to build all these with one exception, and that's Hilda. So as someone who has not tier 7'd this, I feel like having Hilda is probably the easiest way to do it without having like everyone at gear 11, because she's the only tank that's available in Travelers. I mean, you can use Rantha because she is a Traveler, but you know, let's go. Like let's look. The Travelers is one of the largest tag groups for professions. There's a lot of people in it, but you can see you can use Rantha here. You can use General Murdoch. You know, there's so many choices. I feel like Robin Bad definitely and Foul are kind of out of consideration because of all things considered. You could use General Murdoch, but without any of the Goblin synergy. He's just plug and play good. But I also don't. I'm not excited about bringing Rantha or Hilda to level 80. So if I have to choose between the two, I think trying to think a little long term, I think Hilda is probably the better choice to bring to 80. Even though a lot of people, it's hard because a lot of people build Rantha already up to like that 70-ish level for trying to get Soleus the first time. So that one's a little tricky. I'm really torn on that one. In the end, I am just recommending Hilda because I do think that this is the best niche use for her, other than doing the mind challenges. And then finally, going here into speed runes. So the other high value one, along with gladiators, bounty hunters, and again, this is where we get Adam. We've already recommended Sharp elsewhere, and all the crit chance buffing that he gives to this crew really does a lot. Obviously, Wonder Lulu has a chance to do it, but since Kyra's going to force the invis, you don't need to do that with Wonder Lula. And then if Sharp's able to boost everybody's crit chance anyway. So between having Kyra and Wonder Lula, it really allows Adam to really function consistently as a tank here in this setup. But again, it got to get them all level 80, got to gear them up some, and Adam is one of the harder gear farms. And since he's the tank, if he dies, you're only going to get 2 stars. So, okay, going down, Mind Challenge. There's a handful of other options here. There's only 2 other options right now in the Healer Challenge. You can use Mortha or you can use Sengiel. Like, exciting. If you go with Mortha, you're more likely to have her built up a little more. If you go with Sengiel, he's going to gain the order... Oh, that is not how you spell his name. Boom. He's going to get the benefits of the Patriarch Chi lead because Sengiel's order, and that's who gets that buff. So, anyway, so here you have a decent amount of options. The 3 core ones that you want to use for sure, and that you're going to have invested in at this point to where you're really pushing for like tier 14, tier 15 completion, are Tromgar, Little Baddie, and Kinli. Reasons for that are Kinli and Tromgar have forms of self-sustain. So Tromgar has his regen on his A3, and then Kinli has it on his passive. Little Baddie has his Little Baddie has her blah 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 blah. Oh, the self res upon like first death, has the blind that can go out. There's some good useful things there. The other ones, again, like you can use Hilda. I think Hilda probably is one of the best options. If like, if money is no, object, then using Hilda is probably the best way. And then add in kind of whoever you have built that makes sense there, but they're gonna be like, it might be like Kelrian just because there's so much magic damage against the elves. That's who I would lean with. If money was no object for me, I would say, oh, I'm putting in on Kelrian and Hilda. That would be who I'd do. You could also do Adam to try and just reduce it overall, the damage of it. But there's also a consistently Nighty Elves there who will just cleanse that that offense decrease from Adam anyway. So that's why I kind of like hesitate a little bit there. There's lots of arguments you can make for the remaining 2 slots. I've already talked about the healer one. You're going to use either Mortha or Sengiel. Just go for whoever gives you more survivability. If your Sengiel is built enough that his burning can help amp up your damage, and like that might be the choice. But if he's not at all, Mortha isn't going to benefit from the Patriarch Cheerlead, but she's stronger in comparison to your Sengiel. Again, if money was no object, I would use Sengiel because he would then benefit from the shields given from the Cheerlead, and then also would apply burning on people to help amplify the damage for this crew. And these 2 are a little lower priority because the Tenacity Challenge has the the thing that we all know and love, these little suckers, right? Outcast Shackles. That's the reason why I gave this one a gold, and because it's the easiest one to do. So we were kind of lucky, or maybe it was intentional, but we were lucky in that respect to where the easiest challenge has the most valuable farmable item in it. So there's so many options within this crew, right? If you were to just go, if you went where would we go? You would go like tactician, fighter, mage, ranger, warrior, rogue, all that, right? There's so many choices. But the one right here that I have recommended is just kind of, again, high value. I've already invested into these people for something really important. Nighty Elf, Freezard, Kyra, Venomate, Eric, Shieldbreaker. So you can do it without using Rantha. Again, if you use Rantha, she's able to battle poo like off tanky a little bit, but I just don't think it's worth bringing her up as high. And then for Gold Scrolls and Tomes Challenge, these are not hard. These are really not hard. You can use any combination of characters, right? The most like plug and play combo, and they're just not as difficult too as these more restrictive ones because you have all the roles available to you. So anywho, that's the video. I hope this is useful to you guys. As always, if you feel like some of these changes that were made in here are literally things that were submitted by other people saying, hey, I really feel like this is this. Here's why I've used this person. Here's a pic of me like doing this thing. I want to give people the best info, and I know that I am only one brain out here. So sincerely, if you have a suggestion that you're like, hey man, I really think this person needs a little more love, let me know. And if I agree with you, then I will give it. So keep looking forward to some more of those videos from my kind of like little video road ahead page or video, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, just kidding. So first of all, I had spelled Patriarch Cheese name wrong on every single one of these, so I fixed that. I'd spelled it phonetically or just botched it, whatever. Anywho, and I also added this little segment here. I started thinking, I was about ready to like record the video. I was like, or post to export the video and share the video. I was like, actually this would actually be a really useful little thingy. And I'll even just keep on fixing this up as we go here. But what it is just hey, this is the number of times where this character is tagged in the screen. So this isn't indicating necessarily, it's indicating frequency, right? So it's not taking into consideration how bad or good they are, right? Some of those tags, making a weighted scale for all that was just kind of nauseating sounding to me at the moment. So anyway, I figured adding this would be a little helpful, so you can see, hey, just at a glance, who appears on this list a lot, or who appears on this list, but there's like one time, for the time being. Again, this will change as, very, additional legendary unlocks get added. But yeah, anyways, thought that would be useful, so I added that on there. And that's all that means. Again, this is not, I mean, obviously the characters are at the top, but I'm not necessarily saying that Illyria, right, is more important than Ember or Kinley overall, right? Or Soleus, for example. Like, Illyria is not more important than Soleus. Don't build her up before him extensively. But just, hey, just so you have an idea of how many times people are tagging this video. All right, actually gone now. Have a good one.